Hi class, how's everybody doing? I hope you're doing well with your homeworks and all your online learning that you're doing right now. What this video is going to do, it's going to start a sequence of videos which is going to walk us through homework 6. And there's a few different things we're going to be doing in homework 6. We're going to be adding some external CSS cascading style sheets to a few web pages. We're also going to be doing a lot of links both to our own files and to files on the internet, and maybe a little bit more formatting also. This first video is going to be talking about doing the external CSS. If you remember when we did internal CSS, it's something that allowed us to take a content area like a paragraph, set a format for it, and use that format in many different paragraphs. So instead of repeating that information, we just do it once. Each paragraph tag will accept that. We're going to do the same thing in external CSS, except what we're going to do is we're going to create a file which has the formatting information in it, and then I can include that file in a bunch of different web pages. So every one of those web pages would use the same formatting. So that's what we're going to do here. And hopefully you've already downloaded your homework 6 .zip file and extracted the files from it, and that's something that you need to do first. So if you haven't done that, you can pause the video here and download and extract your files. And now what we're going to do is we're going to be working on that CSS. You can see we have a number of files here. We have a couple images. This .png and this .jpg are images. This is a set of web pages that talks a little bit about U.S. history, and we also have 3 HTML files. So we're going to have 3 separate web pages which eventually we're going to be linking together, but not during this video. We're just going to add the CSS. I'm going to open each one of those up in Notepad++. So this U.S. history, I'll choose Edit with Notepad++. Here's my Notepad++ window. I'm going to do the same thing for the declaration file. Edit with Notepad++, and finally I'm going to take that Constitution file and also edit it with Notepad++. So those are the 3 files we're going to be working with, and when we talk about external CSS, that's what we're going to eventually include in each of these files. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create that CSS file. So over in Notepad++, I'm going to click the File menu and select New. That's going to allow me to create this new file. I want to save it now. I'm going to choose File and Save As. And this is one of those times where we have to be really careful that we, number one, save it in the right place. If you had just opened those other files, it's probably already saving it in the right place. That's my homework 6 file here. But if you don't see your files here, you might need to navigate to it. Okay. Now I'm going to do this pop over here, which is Save as Type, and I'm going to choose CSS here, Cascading Style Sheets. So it'll save a CSS file, and I'll give it a name. I guess I'll call it History, capital History.css. And now I'm going to add the CSS to this. And the way that I'm going to do that is by just simply giving the content area, paragraph, header, or whatever, and then a list in curly braces of attributes and values I want to set for those attributes. And they're listed in the homework assignment itself. One thing I asked you to do is to format the body, and in particular to put a background color on the body. So we type body, an open curly brace, and background dash color, and then a colon, and now I want to give it a color, and I'm using light blue so the text kind of shows up, and that's it. I just set the body, and notice the syntax there between the attribute and the value. You put a colon, curly braces around. Next thing I ask you to do is set the paragraph formatting. Again, a curly brace to start, and then we're going to give, in this case, change the font size to 24 point. Now when we have multiple attributes to set, we put semicolons between them. Then we have font family, colon Arial, and color And in this case, we're going to use a dark blue color for the paragraph text. And again, a close curly brace. Okay, and again, all those attributes are listed in the handout, which has the homework assignment on it. A third thing, we're going to set H1, header 1, and again, we have a couple of attributes to set: the color to red, font size to 36, and again, close the curly brace. And finally, we want to set the H3 header style also to dark violet, and the font size to 28 point. And I think I'll just to see what happens, I might put an error in here. So I'm gonna remove that semicolon. You don't have to do that, but we'll see if that makes any difference and how we might debug that. Okay. So now I'm going to save that file, and I'm ready to now add that to my web pages. If I go back over and look at my files and open up one of those pages, like the declaration page, it shows me my information, but of course that formatting's not being used because I haven't included it in that page. So I'm going to go back over to Notepad++ and include it in each page. And there's a certain set of information I need to give associated with that. All this syntax and things like that. So I'm going to go over to my US history page. You can choose any of them. We're going to have to do the same thing in each one. So over here I'm going to add that, which is going to bring in my external CSS. And the information for that, the link for that, I should say the tag for that is link. And now we actually have to say what kind of thing I'm linking to, and it's a style sheet. And then what type that is, and it's CSS. So we're going to say type equal, and then quote text /CSS. And finally, I'm going to say what the name of that file is. And this is, very important, because if I misspell the file name, it's not going to find it. So I'm going to say href is equal to and history.css. Why did I put history.css there? That's because that's what we named that CSS file. And that's going to add that formatting to, in this case, the US history page. I'm going to save it. That's, of course, very important. I hope I saved my CSS also. It looks like I did. And now I'm going to go back over to my folder where my work is and open up that US history page in Chrome. Okay, I can right mouse click and open with Chrome. I actually have Chrome as my default browser. I could just double click on it. Either one of those works. And when I open it up, I see that formatting took place. I have my red header 3. I have my paragraph formatted, and my H1 headers are also here formatted. Okay, so now we're going to go back over to Notepad++ and do the same thing in the other documents. Actually, as I go back, it looks like these two are not formatted properly. I wanted them to be to have a value of, or a color of dark violet, and also a font size of 28. And that didn't occur. Of course, if we go back to Notepad++ and look at that CSS, that's the one that I made the error in. So I'm going to put a semicolon there, resave that file, and once again, go back over to Chrome, reload it, and now I do have all that formatting. So I did a little bit of debugging there, saw that those H1s weren't being formatted correctly, and went back and looked at that and saw what the problem was and fixed it. Okay. So now that particular document is opening up correctly, but I haven't changed the Declaration of Independence page or the Constitution page. So I'll add that link to both of those also, and exactly the same thing. Indicate link, that it's a style sheet, rel equals quoted style sheet. Set my type equal to text/CSS, and finally again reference the page that I want to set as my CSS. And again, that's history. It's the same CSS for every one. That's the goal of this, is to just do it once in one file and be able to apply that formatting to all my files. Okay, so that got set for declaration, and I need to do the same thing for constitution. Now, if you want to save a lot of typing time, I could just take that tag, copy it, and go over to my last file, which is the constitution file, and paste that in there. Okay, so instead of retyping it, particularly if I did it correctly the first time, cutting and pasting is a quick way of doing that. So I'm going to save both of those documents, my constitution, my declaration, and now if I browse each one of those, here's my US history page again, go back over to my folder, here's my declaration page, it looks like it went correctly also, and finally I'm going to go back to my constitution page, and it looks correct also. So that formatting has been applied. You notice the blue background in each, the formatting of paragraphs, and also the headers looks correct in each one. The only one that was using a header 3 was the US history document. So if you've typed in that CSS and put the link in each one of your files, they should all be browsed and look as shown here. If you have something wrong, you can go back to either the CSS or the HTML files themselves and try and figure out what went wrong. Like we saw before, if one of the items, like a paragraph, isn't being formatted correctly, you might want to look in the CSS for the paragraph. If the whole file isn't working, it doesn't have any of the formatting, then you might go to one of the that HTML file and make sure you typed in that link correctly. Hopefully that worked out for everybody. As usual, if you have any questions, feel free to email me, and I'll try and help you as best I can. Thank you, and have a good day. Look forward to those other videos for Homework 6, which will help you do the linking and the formatting. Bye-bye.